Hi, everyone. Just getting started there. Having to spam hit the invite to get everyone who's joining in. Let me just do a ping in the Discord as well. How's everyone's week? It was pretty good, pretty busy, pretty warm, but pretty good. Both Mo was traveling this week. Rainy. Yeah. To have good days, you have to have bad ones as well, which is unfortunate. I find usually the best days precede the worst ones, because the clouds hold off long enough to get some enjoyment out of it, and then by the end of it, everything's quite hectic. So I said at the beginning, it's just me today. Both Kamal and Mo couldn't make it, sadly, but we are going to continue with the event. Just making sure I'm both the person trying to check all the messages and also be the MC at the same time. So it's a little bit of multitasking. We've got about 7 people. I'll give it a couple minutes. What I was going to do though is hit the share screen button and get my desktop shared. And I am going to do a quick review of what was done last day. And I am going to just kind of show bits and pieces of what we did on session 2 and then recap what exactly we're going to be doing today. So let me just head into this directory. Now, I think I have it in my repos folder, Hackfrost Bootcamp. Download there. Hackfrost example. Right, muck example portfolio. If anything on my screen's a bit too small, let me know, but it should be good. Zoom as well also loves to just hide the menu when you start sharing your screen. I don't know if I can access the chat. Just, yeah, there we go. And also the participants list as well. All right. I think I got everything good to go. It's about 104. Cool. So the application that we built the other day was basically almost like a baby version of the other application itself. It had a few pages to it. I don't want to play this game. Thank you, Google. You can stop doing that real quick. This thing will never not go away. And I'll do a quick flask run and VNV and do fast run and localhost 5000. So yeah, this is the page that we built the other day. I noticed a fun bug that I didn't fix during the session the other day, but you'll notice it says here, hello, my name is Duas. And you might go, well, didn't the name that we put in the other day, it was most definitely not Duas. If we go back into app.py, you'll see we're saying name equals Jack, but we're also doing this here, name equals project name. So I think that's the issue itself. If I do project underscore name like so, I think this should actually work. Trying to make sure that I have it set so that I can view the list of people trying to come into the meeting as well. Like I said, once I start sharing my screen, a lot of the UI goes away. Thank you, Zoom. Okay, so I'll call this one project underscore name and make this one project underscore name. And now hopefully if I come in here again and I do the development flask run and refresh the page, you'll see, hello, my name is Jack, as we intended. We did the show how to do images in the app.py, sorry, in the about.html. We had the URL fors, we had the food list where we showed iterating over the list of food, which we defined here. We can add and remove too. But one of the things that we didn't do, that was one of the big things of the example itself. Oh, I can move it around. I didn't know I could do that. I thought it was static. Cool, well, I can put this out of the way. Now it's up there, cool. So one thing we didn't do, if you look at the portfolio example we gave, now the HTML and CSS of the example is a bit cleaner. I put some work into some icons and stuff as well. We had a little name in the top corner. We had this bar at the bottom here. This stuff will be going over on the other day. I think contact page, I think Mohammed has some changes. Let me just see if he git status, git pull should work, I think. Oh, and Mo didn't actually push any of his code up, so I don't have any of those. I don't actually have the contact page that was worked on the other day locally, but thankfully that's not what we're going to do today. So we have the about page, we have the projects page, which was created from the GitHub API that we did the other day, and we also have the contact page. But the one page that's missing, that's pretty big, is the actual blog page. So the blog page and this application is two files that we see here, two blog posts, first entry June 19th and another entry June 21st. If we head into them, you will then see it thinks this one's Latin. It is not. This is just a massive bit of basically filler text. And if you go back here, we'll see the first entry is a blog post written in Markdown with a bunch of different styling of text and so on and so forth. And so what we're going to do today is we are going to actually build out this blog portion of the website within the more minimal version. So first things first, we're going to want to add another page. So we put the blog post after the about, might as well do the same thing. So we're going to take the about page. I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to call this one blog.html. And I'm going to remove the bulk of this code. And I'm going to call this one blog. And I'm going to make the title blog. And I'm going to go into our app.py. And I am going to also check Zoom again because it's being a bit of a pain with my UI. And I'm going to add our blog page. So you can take the root for slash, going to copy it down there, going to change the render template from about HTML to our new blog HTML. We don't need to hand any parameters into it, so we can just, oh, the name is still required because the main layout uses name, and make this one the blog page and app.route blog. Give this a refresh. Also go back into our layer HTML and add, copy this below here, add a link to blog, and make sure we change the text as well. And refresh the page once more. We have a new page we haven't visited yet called blog. We can click on it. It brings us to blog. To make it the same as the others, I'll make the text at the top, H1. One of the things you might have noticed about the example thing we built, the actual, not the one we built, but this one, is that the blog page contains a list of blog posts, but it doesn't contain the actual content themselves. That requires you to actually click on them, and you'll see this is blog first entry, and this is blog another entry, this time with a longer name. Now, if we had to add code for every single blog post whenever we wanted to have a page displayed, that would be a lot of work, obviously. So this is called blog.html. I'm actually going to call this one blog.html to blog listing.html. And I'm going to create a file called blog entry.html. So blog entry is going to be used for entries into the blog, and blog listing is going to be used to list all the blogs that we have access to. So what I'm going to do now is come back into our app.py to make this change. So we have /blog, which is going to be routing to blog_entry. And we're going to add a dynamic route. So in the other day when we talked about like the Flask math examples, we talked about how you could actually have dynamic parameters in the actual route itself. So hello, people that just joined. Keep out in the chat. So we have /blog, which is linking to blog entry, and we're going to have /blog/ and then we're going to have here, it is going to be blog, and let's say what will the blog post, post_name. Let's do that. Post name. This is going to be linking to blog this listing. And it's going to have post name here. So we'll put post_name. And we're going to hand the post_name in as a argument. But we don't actually have, we've defined some pages for them, but we don't actually really have any data yet. But just to get this set up, I'm going to take the code for blog listing, and I'm going to take this in here, and I'm going to call this one post name, and then it's going to be. So we have our blog listing like so, which right now shows nothing, and then we have blog entry, which is going to be showing the post name itself. So you go back to the example page, refresh this, type error. Oh, right, because I fucked up. So this is supposed to be blog listing page and blog entry page. So we're back to this, which is just /blog, which is blog entry, which I mucked it up. I think what I was supposed to do is to make this one. Yeah, this is supposed to be blog listing. This is supposed to be blog entry. So now if I refresh this, we get blog. If we go to blog/foo, we get foo, because it's bringing us, in one case, the blog listing page just returns blog, and the blog entry page will return the post name. But right now we just have, taking in the post name from the URL and just stuffing it directly into the template. And we're not actually doing any logic. There's no actual post data that lives anyway. So what we're going to do now is we're going to write some posts, but we're not going to do it using the browser. I mean, we could spend another 5 hours putting together an entire application that we could use to create blog posts. But for the brevity of this tutorial, I'm going to create a directory called blog. And in this directory called blog, I'm going to make first post.md. And in first post.md, I'm going to say first post. This is a post. So to recap, we have a new directory within the project called blog with a file in it called firstpost.md, and it has 3 lines in it, which is Markdown, but it's basically just text. And let's say you want to make this a blog post. Give me 1 second to reference the existing code, so I make sure that the new code that I do is correct. 1 second. Seems being annoying as always with having floating windows in the way. Okay, so we're going to use something in Python called os_scandir. It's not going to be, this is kind of just a means to an end to get through it a bit quicker than we would otherwise. So within Python, we can do import os, and then we can do, let me just take some more code. I'm just going to copy and paste some code in here so we can get this done a bit quicker. And also what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick exit 0 so we can just run the same code over and over again. Let me just go back to the terminal and quit this. I'm going to paste in some code. So I'll explain this code in a second. I'm just going to run it to make sure it works. Cool. So what this code here does, of course, this is not a bootcamp itself specifically about how to write Python. So I'm going to skim over it a bit quicker. But you'll see here we have with OS scan to blog as it. And so this is basically saying scan this directory in the local file system for entries and define a variable called it to define it. So in this case, we have a directory called blog. So for entry in it, which is going to then iterate on every single thing it finds, if the entry.name ends with .md, so if the file name ends with .markdown and entry is file, because we wouldn't want to have a directory encountered in this, it'll print entry.name. So you'll see here, if I add another post, a second post.md, and let's say this is my second post, and we're going to copy some text a bunch of time and give them some numbers for fun. So now if we come back into the terminal and we run class run again, we see first post, second post. So now, of course, that's the file name, but that's not stupidly exciting. It'd be nice if we could get the actual data itself. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just, instead of getting an entry name, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get the post data equals path. And path itself is something that we're going to import from pathlib, which is another Python utility that we're not going to cover too much, but we're just going to use it for our need. So entry.path. Now if we print entry.path, you'll see entry.path is the direct link to where this thing is in the file system. And if we do path.read_text, let's remove this and then just do print post data, you will see now we actually get first post, this is a post, and then this is my second post. So we have like the actual post data itself. So just like we have a projects array up here, let's make blog posts equals to this. And let's take the code that we already have written and not delete it. Blog posts equals empty array. Let's take this projects that we have defined here and put it over here. And we're going to say blog posts append. So we're going to push items into blog posts. So we're going to have our post name, it's going to be the post name, and we're going to say the post, we can just actually leave it probably just name data. So name, let's just call it entry.name for now, and data is going to be post_data. So we can remove these. We can now do print blog posts like so. And you'll see we have name, first post MD, and then data, first post, this is a post. So now we have an array of things. So what we can do now is, first things first, we can make an entry page. So our blog listing page would need the blog posts. So we can do blog_posts equals blog_posts. Yet again, we already have some code written for iterating over things. So let's go to the about page and steal the iterator that we have here for food and list of food, and then go over to blog listing. Let's do in here for post in blog posts. We can have our post name. To save that and see if we've been doing good so far. Let's go back to the blog page. It's not running because we're not running the application. It would help to do that. And we're still running exit 0 just to test it, but we're good. So we can get back into it now. And a statement got percentage because we probably mucked up something. Yes, we did indeed. Does not like invalid syntax, that is for sure. There we go. So now when we actually go from the about page to the blog page, you'll see we have a list of blog posts. But these posts themselves don't actually have any links to their subpages. But as we discussed before, if we look at the example code that's written for the layout, all we need to do is wrap them with a slash like so. So what I'm going to do is going to go to blog listing, and I'm going to make this an ordered list with UL. I'm going to make a tag with a href of equal to /blog/mn post name. So now we have our unordered list, and then we will iterate through each blog post. We will get the posts themselves. We will create an A tag for every single blog post, which will link to /blog and then the blog post's name. And each thing itself will have the name there. So we come back in here. You'll see now they're in a nice list, and we have first post and second post, and they're nice and blue. We click on them, and it says URL not found on the server. I think it's marked up. I think I don't need the trailing slash at the end. I think that's what's confusing it. Keeps trying to prepend a slash on the other end. Shouldn't be doing that. There we go. So now it'll bring us to first_post.empty. But we go to the page and it just shows us the name, which is a bit boring. So what we're going to have to do now is go back to our app.py, and we are going to go to the blog post name route. Now, every route so far has just been, define this decorator, have a function, and render a template. And most of the logic themselves has actually lived in the templates. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try and find the right post inside of the posts list that corresponds to the post we want. What I'm actually going to do as well is I'm going to do name to blog post equals this, and I'm going to I could do it like this. It's a little bit tricky because what I want to do is have a way of easily going from name to blog post. So I'm going to try and do this. Yeah, this will be fine. So for post in blog posts, if post name is post name, what I'm doing here now is I'm going to say blog post not found. So what this will do is this will go through every single post in the blog posts array that we've defined up here, and it'll try and basically figure out if the post name of the requested post is post name, like so. It'll do return render template blog entry.html with the name and the post name. But instead, this what I'll do here is post name. I can actually just do post equals post. So now if we come in here and refresh the page, it'll say blog post not found. Is it double equals? I think it is like this. I've not looked at Python in a while. Print post name. Live debugging. First post empty, first post empty. Cool. It was that. And so now, we type in something incorrect, it says blog post not found. But if we use something correct, it'll actually tell us first post.md. So now we go back to blog entry and we change post name to post name. Change this post name to post name. And below, we're going to do post data body. And since the post data itself is just a list of HTML, we will just leave it as is. There we go. First post. This is a post. One thing you'll notice is it just looks like this. This is not really our intention. Our intention is for it to look like a nice, well-written bit of text. And this hashtag here that I put here, this is Markdown. I'm not going to go deep into Markdown formatting within this, but basically the first post itself, this is supposed to be a H1. And let's say this is going to be a H2, H3, H4. I come back in here and you'll see I'll probably need to refresh because it doesn't refresh the files. And you'll see none of it's actually being formatted correctly at all. One of the things that we have to do here to configure it, let me just head back into my own code that I've written before to use this as a reference here, is we need to do in our blog entry.html, we need to do post data, and then we need to do safe. What this basically says is this data that we're going to be rendering, we want to hand it directly to the browser and we don't want to clean it up because, you could do something malicious and you could put a script tag inside of a name. If the page renders it, it would actually invoke code on the other user's end, which is not an intention at all. But one thing you'll notice is that, well, we're using all this Markdown formatting that we talked about here, that, these should be headings and this should be that, but we're not actually parsing it as so. Right now, we're still just, we're basically just taking the text that's there and we're dumping it to the page on the other end. So to do that, we are going to bring in, you would never guess it, another library called Markdown. And Markdown is very, very, very simple. We're going to go back into app.py. We're going to import Markdown. And we are going to use this. Post data. And then HTML is markdown.markdown, post Markdown. In this case, we'll post data. And we're going to change data from data to HTML. Like so. And we'll go back into post entry and do post data to post HTML. And we're going to run the application again, just like so. And ta-da, just like that, our actual page is rendering a lot nicer than before. And it has our heading that we defined initially, then it has our headings below. If we go back to the blog page, we look at our second post, you'll see second post.md. This is my second post with copy of text a bunch of times, and this is all formatting correctly, which is great. One thing that we did in this blog post too, though, as well, is we had an actual timestamp on the blog post. Now we go to the blog listing, which looks a lot nicer. We actually have it ordered, not just simply by name, but we have it sorted by the actual timestamps themselves. So how do we do that? Where do we actually store the date portion of the post? So there's, of course, many ways you can do this. There's not just the one way. But what we're going to do in this one is we're going to actually make the name of the posts themselves a lot more dynamic, let's say. So what we're going to do is we are going to take this first post.md and we're going to do this. We're going to do 2021 07 24 underscore first post.md, and we're going to do the same with this one. So we're going to do it, I don't know, in the future a little bit, 21 08 30 25 26 another post.md. So now we have 2 more posts, which is great. But now, if we use the same code we have written before, you probably will know what will happen. We go to the blog page, we have these 2 things, and like it works, but it's just taking, the name and it's dumping it directly into the both the URL and also the name. But that is not the intention. The intention was to basically make our name contain a bunch of data. To use some basic Python string manipulation stuff, what we're going to do here is we're going to take this string, we're going to split it on underscore so we can break it into its component parts. So if we do this, we get the name of it. So post name equals entry dot name dot split underscore. So post name is the second piece of it, but post date is the first bit. Syntax. I'm gonna yet again give us an exit 0 so we can test it a bit easier. I'm going to now do print post date, print post name. And there we go. We get 2021-07-24 first post, 2021-08-26 another post. You'll see these are now in two different variables. So yet again, I'm going to quickly use some Python code that I'm not going to cover in absolute detail. But I am going to bring in the Python datetime library, like so, from datetime, import datetime. And I'm going to pass our date into an actual proper Python date field. So now I'm going to use datetime and I'm going to string ptime, which means this is a utility method to actually basically take in the post date, which let's call this one raw post date. Raw post date. The format of the post date that we defined is year, month, day. So in here you'll see capital Y MD. And let's do post date. So now if we do post name and post date, you'll see we get this weird long string, but this is an actual proper Python date. This is something that you want to be, you can do a lot more with, but we still have the .md as well. So how do we get rid of that? What we do with that is we can use another Python function called rstrip, which strips from a string. So post name equals post name dot rstrip dot md. If I can spell strip correctly, that'd be fantastic. So post name dot rstrip dot md. And there we go. We have a nice formatted timestamp. That's actually a date object, which is a lot useful to us. And we have first post. So now our entry.name is no longer needed. We can just do post underscore name. And even right now, if we take this and remove our prints, and we run this again, you'll see it's just first post and another post. We click on them and it's great. We have a little, URL here and it's working fine. And it no longer has the .md at the end. But let's actually put the date on the post. So if I do date post underscore date, just like this, and now we would like to actually render this information. So if we go into blog listing, we can do this. So post name, then we can do hyphen post date, just like this. And refresh the page. And exception, because what have I done? That is the question. I've probably done something, but that's the question. I don't know what I've done. Invalid syntax. That would do it. Classic. Who knew a missing semicolon could be so tragic? And there we go. But you'll see it's rendering it as kind of an ugly string that also states that it begins at the beginning of the day. That is not the intention at all. So because it's an actual proper Python string object, we could do something fancy with it. So I'm going to take some example code that I've already created elsewhere, and I'm going to come into the blog listing, and I'm going to remove the code that we have here. I'm going to paste in this code. So what this is going to do, it's going to use the post date field that we filled out before, but now it's going to use string f time. The before was string pass time, and this is string f time. So it's going to take in our data object, and it's going to use this %b, %d, %y. Don't exactly know what all those letters and stuff mean, but now we refresh the page, and there you go. Our capital B is the month name, 24 is the day, and then the year is the Y, just like that. And we click on the posts, and it'd be nice if the posts themselves actually contain the same thing. So let's go into the actual post entry page, and let's do something like this. Let's put it in a paragraph tag. Let's also do a horizontal line, like so. There we go. First post, July 24th, 2021, just like that. So now we have a blog post. And what's kind of cool about this, of course, is like I said, we didn't have to go in and manually add different routes for every single blog post because that would just be ridiculous. What we did was made it so that we can just add a new one. Let's make one in the past. 2005. What a good year. Oh, 2995. 2005. 01. 02. From the past.md. This post is from the past. And now, we just restart this, which means it fetches the data again. And you could write it so that it could keep checking if there was new files if you wanted to. And there we go, from the past. Oh, it's not sorting. I feel it probably would be good to sort. I think if I just do, I have an idea. I should just be able to, I think you can do this within Python. You can just kind of do blog posts.sort. Is that a magical thing that I can do? No. Did not like that at all. Dict. Right. Anyways, that's kind of for another day. If you have a blog post that has an array of things, you could dig into them, then find the exact field in which the date's on and use that. But we're not going to worry about that. For our purposes and for brevity of this course, we are going to keep it with what we have here. So we have the blog posts. They exist. It's pretty easy to add another one. They're dynamic. We can, just create a new file. If we create one with an invalid date, it would likely break it. So the answer for that is just don't create one with an invalid date. But one thing you might have noticed is if you go to the Pythonanywhere version, is the blog itself actually has these little buttons up here to react to them. We're not going to build these reaction buttons. I'm going to leave implementing them up to yourself. But we are going to go over today is go over a little bit of database stuff to kind of talk about how you'd actually do this type of storage. So one of the things that we built as just an example was this list of fruits at the bottom, or list of food, tea, apples, ramen. But say we wanted to add and remove things from this list dynamically. So instead of having it in an array, we almost want to make this part of a database .food. It would be nice if we could just do that, but sadly we cannot. It is not that magic. I do have GitHub Copilot, but not going to use it here today. I am going to use something called SQLite 3. Learning SQL and learning databases is kind of the outside scope of this, but we're going to hopefully show enough here today to kind of give a little bit of an illustration on how you do such a thing. So what we want is we have a list of our food, and we want to be able to add and remove to it while the application is running. But what we also want is we want persistence. We could naively just have a list like, actually what I can do is I can make something. I'm going to call this one food add name added food. So we can do food add name, and you might say, well, wouldn't that just be fine? I can just do food add cookie. And it says, yes. What have we done? Ah, the example code that I added before is giving me pain now. So now if we go back to the main page, you will see that we are not running the application. We have the empty list of nothing, but we can come in here now. We can actually go food, add pizza. And this object has no attribute push because I'm writing JavaScript as per usual. Append name. That's what we intended. Food add pizza, food add tea, food add cookie. We go back to the main page. There we go. Pizza, tea, cookie. We Control-C this, we run it again, and just like that, it's gone because it's not actually persisted across restarts because we have to use, drumroll please, database. So I'm going to take some code that I'm going to copy from elsewhere, and I am going to do this. I'm going to say I want a DB connection, and I am going to use SQLite 3 to connect to database.db, just like that. And if I Control-C this and look at my files, you'll see I now have a file called database.db. I can use SQLite 3 actually, which is kind of cool. On the command line, I can do .schema. You'll see it's empty. I do select star, and there's a bunch of stuff I can do here. But I don't actually have any data. I have database, but it has no actual data in it. Databases themselves have tables and rows, kind of analogous to sheets in a spreadsheet. And I am going to execute some code that'll let me actually create a table. So I have the code that's been copied over from the application that you saw, but I'm going to call this one food, and I'm going to call this one name. So what we're doing here is we are getting a database cursor, which is a thing that you hold to then do actions on the database. We're going to execute some SQL. This SQL is just a string, but it's a command being ran on the database. The database is going to create a table, if it doesn't already exist, named food. Food is going to have a name field, and the name field is going to be the primary key, which means the row in that table that is used to basically denote its uniqueness. We're going to close the curse that we just opened, and we're going to commit, which means we're going to actually commit our changes. If I run this again, I do it like so. Now it's running, and I do SQLite 3 database.db, and I do what I did before, which was .schema. You'll see here we go, create table food, name text, primary key name. And let's see, what food do we have? Select star from food. Doesn't give me anything. Insert into food values pizza. Tea, cake. So SQL is something that we're not going to talk an absolute ton about, but it does read a bit like English. You know, you have create table food, name text, primary key name. Select star, star meaning everything, from food, which gave us nothing because there's nothing in it. And then we inserted into food values pizza. So now if we go up 3 times back to select star from food, we will get pizza, tea, cake. We can actually take the exact same SQL that we've written here, and then we can actually build that onto the page itself. So what we're going to do is we are going to take some data, and we're going to render the result of this select query we just did on the about page. So our list of food is an empty array, but this can actually go away. And let's go to our about page, and let's do list of food equals. Let's take some code that I have here from before. So the same code we had before with the database connection, database connect /database.db.cursor, cursor execute select star from food, just like so. And then we're going to set list of food equal to dbcursor.fetchAll. And I have been delivered a cup of tea. So now we have list of food, and just before we render this and actually see what it is, let's do render test. For now, let's do print list of food, just to see what list of food even is. And let's run it again. So go to localhost, we get test, and we'll see we have pizza, tea, cake, because it's returning us back a list of tuples of everything within the database. So we have our pizza, our tea, and our cake. So what we're going to do here is we are going to return this again. List of food is now this. Let's go back into our about.html, and for food in list of food, and now we're going to have to do food 0 because it is a tuple that we're currently dealing with. And there we go, pizza, tea, cake. But you'll notice that we haven't touched this code here at all. We are just doing list of food append name. So if we do food add pizza, it'll get list of foods not defined, which is correct. It is not defined indeed. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this. We are going to take the same code that we had before with this cursor code, except we are going to do something a bit different with it. We just take some, I'll actually take some code from my browser. Yet again, we get a database connection. There is a reason that I'm creating this object fresh every time, and it's a bit complicated to explain, but it's basically Python is weird when it comes to threading, and that's all I'm going to say. we can take the same code that we had before, which was the simple insert into food values and then name. And this colon name here is being done like this so that we can do this. So we get connection to our database.db, and then we do db.cursor like so. And then we insert into food values name, just like this, and it says added food. Might as well say added food name, like so. Now if we do go food add baklava, added food name. Good if I did this, wouldn't it? And let's say food add orange, added food orange. Go back to the main page and you'll see baklava and orange. And the best thing is we can do Control-C here, and just like that, app is now down. You know, there's no actual app running anymore. We do fast run again, refresh the page, just like that. We have pizza, tea, cake, baklava, orange. So like I said before, when it comes to actually implementing the reaction system, this of course is something that you don't have to do in your own projects. But if you do want to see if you can take the same thing that we've applied with regards to the database and apply it to attempting to implement this system yourself here as well with the reaction buttons, feel free. This is kind of, you know, what I've done with the about page and with this is quite similar to the reactions, but there's a bit more logic required to actually to make it work. But I'll leave that up for the reader to implement. So the reason we went over this today instead of going directly into cloud was because this was stuff that I wanted to cover last day. There wasn't enough time to get this stuff done. And we're going to spend the next 40 minutes or so, or however long required, taking this application that's been built. We're going to actually host it on the web, just like so. So let me just log into Pythonanywhere in a different browser so I can make sure that I don't have my secrets leaked anywhere. I'm probably going to have to nuke what's there. And what I'm going to do is I'm also going to basically nuke what I have there as well. Deleting, yeah, I had to go and delete what I already have there just for the sake of getting a clean slate. Let's say. Cool. So I am going to bring this tab that I have over here. And one of the things mentioned in the documentation is setting up a Pythonanywhere account. And this is when you actually get in, this is what you'll have. Is there a way that I can just delete files quite easily? Not sure if there is. Anyways, once you get into Pythonanywhere, you'll have your home directory. In my case, I have some files here already, which were added not by me, but by the website itself. And I have the ability to spin up some consoles if I want to as well. But one of the things of Pythonanywhere is the web app section. So if I go to the Open Web tab, and it says you have no web apps. To create Pythonanywhere host a web application, click the Add New Web App button to the left. So if I go back in here and try and refresh the page, you'll actually notice that the site that I've been using as an example is now coming soon because there's nothing actually there. But I'm going to basically make the application that we've written here and actually bring it in the web. Before I do that though, I'm going to just do a quick git status with a git add dot with a git commit add example database code and blog, and do git push origin main. So now the code itself is up on GitHub. Also going to open that up as well, just so I can have that in a different tab. This is one of the nice things about having things in GitHub too, is means it'll be quite easy to pull this code into Pythonanywhere. So come into Pythonanywhere, click on Add New Web App. New web app's domain name, it'll have jackharry.pythonanywhere.com. We want to have it differently. I can upgrade my account, but for now, I'll keep it what it is. I'm going to say I want to have a manual configuration for now with the latest version of Python. And yes, this is fine. Great. So now I go back to my web page and I refresh the page. You'll see it is now showing a Hello World application. So now I'm going to go to the consoles tab and I'm going to close this console and I'm going to create a new bash one. And it'll bring me to what looks like the same thing that I have here in my terminal, but this is actually around the website itself. So if I do ls here, you'll see I have readme.txt and it says there's some, let's see, help.pythonanywhere.com if I want to. But actually what I want to do here is I would like to clone code. So I'm going to use a git command called git clone. I'm going to go and come to the code section here. I'm going to come to HTTPS. I'm going to take this URL and I'm going to do git clone. I'm going to paste this here. So now if I do ls, you'll see we have a folder here called example simple portfolio. And the command we ran to get that was git clone with the HTTPS URL. So this is the thing about Git is Git can even be used to pull down projects that are fresh as well. So we head into this directory, do this, we can see we have all the files in there. Just to do a quick sanity check, we can vim app.py and we can see, you know, we have the food table that we just added, so on and so forth. What we have to do now is just do Flask, which you'll see this won't work because, oh, it does actually work. What we'll have to do is a quick virtual environment. Thankfully, I can use the hackfrostnl documentation to actually get this running locally quite quick. I'm going to create a VNV like so. Going to source the VNV once it's done. It'll take a little bit because the machines they give you aren't super powerful. Source it. We need to pip install. And we need Flask, we need SQLite 3, we need Markdown, we need decouple, I believe. Let me just check. Yeah. Check the top of the app. Requests, requests as well. Requests. Oh yeah, it was Mo that added decouple, but that isn't in this one. We do a quick pip install. No SQLite 3. Is it just SQLite? Oh right, that's not the SQLite 3 is baked into Python itself, which is nice. So pip Flask Markdown requests, just like that. And once this is done, we can do a quick status to see everything's still fine. Now we can do a quick Flask run. And address is already in use. I wonder why. I think I know why. Just give me 1 second. I think when they want to do is change this. Yes. We need to change this from I'll take the current working directory, which is home, Jack Harry, example simple portfolio, go back into the dashboard, go to web. I'll change the working directory to this, where the actual project itself is loaded. And what I'm going to do is I'm then going to reload. So that's done reloading. I'm going to come back to here. I think it's cached. It shouldn't be cached though. What have I done? I think it's a little bit strange because I think Pythonanywhere itself uses it. It's actually what does the Flask run itself. So I think what it might be doing, if I look at this WSGI file, it's referencing a WSGI configuration file. Yeah, it's just this WSGI file itself is. I think this is what it's using as the entry point of the application itself. I think the intention for this would be to actually what I'm going to do, I believe I've done this incorrectly. I think the manual way sets up WSGI, but I think the intention with this is to actually add a Flask application. And then, yeah, I'll leave this like this for now. Quick start new Flask project. Except now I'll change it to Jack Harry Simple Portfolio and enter VNV if desired, /VNV. HTTPS, sure. And just like that, reload once more. Debug live as per usual during this this bootcamp. And come in here. And hello from Flask, because it's probably using the wrong configuration file. I'm going to change this product home to this. I'm trying to figure this out myself. I did it once a while ago when I set up my own on this site, and I haven't touched it since. Something went wrong. Oh no. Okay, now we look at this is some live debugging. This is how you debug production quite quickly. It is not happy with me because it's trying to import something that's not there. That might do it actually. And again, I'll explain what I'm doing once it's said and done. I don't want to start talking about what I'm doing if it's wrong, which it totally might be. Something has gone wrong again. It's getting a bit pissed at me, and I don't know why. I have to go into Bash console again. What for now we're going to do is we're going to change app.scander blog to / maybe. This is truly debugging in production here. Wouldn't recommend it, and we'll have to make these changes to the application as well. I think what's getting confused at is it's trying to load the list of blogs, but it's not working correctly. Something has gone wrong again. Handled exception, my favorite exception. No module name Flask app. I think we fixed that error, but it's going into a different error as well. I'm going to take this stack trace. I'm going to put it into Stack Overflow. It's actually getting error specific for Pythonanywhere. Your path needs to be home tech user blog project. Currently path of my site and settings, my settings.python. I think one of the things that I had done before was actually didn't even bother using a VNV at all. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this VNV. Instead, I'm going to, so source code is here, working directory is here, WSIG configuration file. I thought I had this all perfectly done and ready to go for today, but obviously not. Delete the app, but your file's still there. I don't think yeah, the files were still there, and that was the intention for the files that we had there before. We still have so if you see in the home directory in home Jack Harry, we have example simple portfolio. We also still have my site, which we don't want anymore. And in the var www directory is where it has it actually has backups to the old stuff as well. It actually might be useful. Let me see. Let me just see what one of these old ones looks like. 2020 21.back. It's pretty. In this one, they just do from app import app as application. Not sure if I actually made this change myself or not, but supposedly I come back to the dashboard and I go to web and I scroll down and I click on WSGI configuration file. It's getting pissed at that. From app import app as application. Or maybe it expected the name to be called Flask app, but it wouldn't find it because it was called app.py. Yeah, that would do it. Oh, MySQL, thank you. Web, one last time, reload the page. Fingers crossed this time. Fantastic. There we go. We have a site on the internet where we can come in here and go food add banana. Added food banana, refresh the page. And I can drop this link actually in Zoom chat as well. And just like that, we have the example application on Pythonanywhere. So to talk about what's been done, now that I know that I've done it the right way. So what we did, we got to the main page, we went to the web section, we created a new Flask application, put some stuff in there for us. It made a new subdomain, which was the username on this application .pythonanywhere.com. We configured, so what we did is we created a bash console, which brought us to a terminal in the thing itself. And we did a quick git clone, which actually cloned the project on GitHub and brought it here. We did install the VNV, but I think I stopped using it afterwards, or did I? It might still be being used. I mean, the application itself is running. There isn't a VNV. Maybe it looks at the VNV folder. Anyways, that's not really important. So we changed the source code directory to be the directory of the source code, the working directory, so that when it creates database.db, it puts it in the right spot. We had to modify the WSGI configuration file to be this. And then once we had that done, we have the app running. The nice thing is too, we can reload it, and which should of course put it down and push it back up again. And we go back into the site itself, and you will see it is restarted, but the data is still there. Jack is awesome. I am thankful to the person who added the food item called Jack is awesome. I'd realized there is no validation to check that you can put some horrific strings of text in that endpoint. So if anything like that happens, I'm nuking the database and turning down the website. So please don't do that. That wouldn't be good. But yeah, the application that we built is now on the internet. I kind of have just been droning along. Thanks to all you that have been following along. Is there any immediate questions about anything we just did with regard to like the blog post entries reading Markdown, the SQLite stuff. I know we kind of brushed on that quite quickly, any of the database stuff, and the Pythonanywhere stuff, as you saw, a little bit messy. Thankfully, this stuff will be up on YouTube if you'd like to follow through as well. And once you actually make changes, let's say we want to, have a new change. I'll just show that first as well. Is we want to make let's make the blog listing page look a bit prettier. Let's make this UL have a class of blog posts. Let's go and grab the CSS, which we defined in the layout. And let's do blog posts. Let's take the same CSS that we had here, except do font family impact and do green. So now we have some changes. We want to actually push those changes quite quick. So if we go ahead and add them like so, git commit made blog entry better, git push origin main. Now it is possible to set up things that would automatically refresh the page for you. Let's see, Jag is awesome. Thank you for not adding anything explicit. But if we go back to the Pythonanywhere page, we go to the console tab, go into the bash console. All we have to do here is git pull, and it'll pull the new change. And let's go back to the dashboard or to the web section and reload the page. And just like that, once that is done, we go to the blog page and it says nothing was found on the server because it's not working. Did I break something? Knowing me, I most definitely broke something. I'll not leave it up to the workshop. Change black to /blog. I think there was something that I changed about. It should still be routing to /blog though. I'm going to just quickly do a bit more live debugging to see if I did anything there that would cause this to break. So access log. Is it from? Sorry if I'm leaking anyone's IP address here. I'm not meaning to. Now check the error log as well. That is curious. I will try what you mentioned before though, Armin. We did make some changes to the site a little bit. I don't think it, because /blog itself should just return the blog entry page. These are actually named incorrectly. I'm just gonna give it one last refresh. If it doesn't work, I'm not gonna be too heartbroken. I am just genuinely curious what I've done to it. Strange. Even if I do first %20 post, blog post not found. This does make me feel like potentially something is awry. Something that I have done with regards to this Scander blog. Not sure if actually, I think I checked the code. I'm not sure if I actually made the change. I definitely made the change. Damn. Well, I am not going to debug this now. but it does indeed work. If anyone runs into any issues with that stuff, do let me know. It is still 15 minutes before we're supposed to be finished up the session, but I basically said everything that I've wanted to. If Mo or Kamal were here, maybe they would have some more input, but that is pretty much it for me. If any of you have any questions or you want to put on your video or like talk or anything, feel free to. But other than that, the session itself is concluded. Glass mugs are the best vessels for cups of tea. That is for sure. Every mug, if every mug I had could be glass, I would most definitely pick that to be the case. Thank you for coming along to it. We had 50 people and we only had 71 in this session, which is okay. People are busy and it's difficult to stay with stuff like this, but yeah, definitely. Thanks for you guys who stuck around and listened to it. I'll be ending the session and I'll see you guys next week. We're gonna make the UI look a lot better than what we've been had so far, and talk a little bit more about UI UX, and also get to the prizes as well. Anyways, thank you guys for coming once again, and thanks to you that are in the in online. I'm gonna stop the recording as well.